Hello Twitter, hello Periscope, hello At Home Yelk, and welcome to the At Home Yelk Virtual Book Fair on Twitter Live. I'm Rachel Churcher, I'm the author of the Battleground series, and I'm the organiser of today's event, so thank you so much for joining me. I want to say a very quick thank you to Yelk for setting up the At Home Yelk hashtag and supporting all the amazing author events that are happening on this weekend's incredibly busy online schedule. Yelk in London is always a very special gathering, and even though we can't be in London in person, it's wonderful to be able to connect readers and authors online like this. We have some absolutely fantastic authors for you at the Virtual Book Fair today. We'll be broadcasting on Twitter Live from our own accounts, so head over to yelk.taulerbooks.com to check out the schedule. If you click the links in the schedule, they'll take you directly to the next author's feed. I know you'll need to scroll down to find the video, but you should just land where you need to be. You'll also find information on the books and the authors and details of some absolutely brilliant giveaways. So head over to yelk.taulerbooks.com and see what we've got on offer for you. Whatever your genre, we've got something to entertain you today. We'll have readings from all the books on the list, and most of the authors will be holding a Q&A session. So jump in, talk to us, ask us questions, find out who we are, interact. It'll be great to meet you. We've got dystopia, we've got science fiction, we've got fantasy, we've got LGBTQ romance, we've got a mystery thriller, we've got contemporary fiction, we've got historical fiction. We've got award-winning authors, and we've got stories from around the world. We're all here to meet you and to introduce you to our books. And we're looking forward to doing so. Twitter Live can be unpredictable, so if you have problems with any of today's broadcasts, please put a message on the video or drop a tweet to me at Rachel_Churcher, and we'll do our best to sort out any issues. I can't guarantee to be watching at all points to check my Twitter feed, but we'll do our best for you. So, on to my book. I'll be reading today from Battleground, the first book in the Battleground series. And the thing you need to know is that the Kindle edition of Battleground is free to download today. So if you like what you hear, follow one of the many Amazon links on my Twitter feed up and down from here, and grab yourself a copy. It's also available on Kindle Unlimited, and you can order paperback copies from all good bookshops. I'm just going to do your cover. There you go. After the reading, I'd love to answer your questions about the books, about writing, about indie publishing, about the Virtual Book Fair. Add your questions to the video, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. So a quick introduction to the Battleground series. It's an award-winning 5-book series. I describe it as friendship-based YA. It's almost entirely romance-free because it's a dystopia, and I think my main characters have enough to worry about without adding romance and love triangles into the mix. They're trying to save themselves and their country from a corrupt government, and what they need is good friends who will look out for each other and keep each other safe. There's a question that I pose to the characters and the audience in all the books. What would you do if your government turned against you? And what if you had the chance to fight back? And obviously that's a rather topical question to be asking at the moment, more so than when I wrote the books in 2016, which I have to say is terrifying. But that's the thing to bear in mind as you listen to the reading. The series is set in the UK, after Brexit and Scottish independence. In the section I'm going to read, my protagonist, 16-year-old Bex Elman, has been taken from her school by army recruiters and conscripted into the recruit training service. She's in an army training camp, being trained to represent the government on the streets and to deter terrorists from attacking civilians. In this section, Bex has snuck out of camp completely illegally to find out what's happened in the neighbouring town. She's wearing her armour, she's carrying her gun, but that won't be enough to keep her safe. Bear with me while I find the start of the reading. I'm walking into town, along the busy road I've come to know. But the buildings that should be here are gone. The road is blocked with cars, all empty, all silent. The trees are ragged shards of splintered wood. The road surface is split with deep cracks. I can't take in what I'm seeing. This is our town. It should be full of people. People driving, people walking, people carrying shopping and walking dogs and bringing their children home from school. I don't know where the people are. Along the road, between the cars, I see pieces of people's lives. There's a handbag dropped next to a car, a brightly coloured raincoat on the grass verge, a pink teddy bear, a single red glove. I keep walking, past the skeletons of buildings, shops, offices, factories, schools, all demolished. Here and there, a steel frame breaks the skyline, or the corner of a brick wall. I hold my gun more tightly. I'm searching for any sign of life or any clue as to what happened here. All I can think is that the terrorists must hate us to do something like this. To attack ordinary people far from any government buildings. To destroy everything in town. And suddenly I can't breathe. I'm on my knees at the side of the road, clawing at my helmet, twisting it out of the neck seal on my suit, taking great gasps of air as I try to calm down and think clearly. Who did this? Why would they attack here? Where are all the people? The silence is terrifying. I can hear gusts of wind whistling through the remains of the buildings and something creaking on the other side of the road. With my helmet off, this feels way too real. There's a faint chemical scent in the air. I can't place it, but it doesn't smell fresh or natural. I check my contamination panel and it's a pale shade of pink in the chemical zone. I take a few more deep breaths and put my helmet back on, sealing myself off from the cold reality. I pull myself to my feet, force myself to keep walking. More cars, more buildings, more splinters of trees. And then I see movement up ahead, figures in suits like mine, but black all over. Their black visors are closed and the grey daylight reflects from their helmets as they crouch down in a parking lot to inspect something on the ground. I shouldn't be here. I can't risk being seen. There's a third figure walking around the building beside them, gun cradled across its body. It stops near the crouching suits and stands guard, gaze sweeping up and down the road as they work. I freeze. I can't afford to be seen. Slowly I crouch down and crawl into the road, between the cars, silent as I can be. I sit with my back against the wheel of a grey family car, gun across my knees, out of sight, and wait. Under the car next to me, there's a shoe. The kind a woman might wear to work in an office. Slip-on, hard to run in and easy to lose. I look more closely at the car and realise that the front door is open, just a crack. Someone has opened it and not stopped to close it. They've not stopped to pick up the shoe either, or the handbag, or the teddy bear. Did the people in the cars get out and run away? Or were they dragged from their cars while they were trying to drive? A little further ahead along the road, the cars are not in straight lines anymore. They're slewed across the road, diagonal and messy like a bad accident. There's a car half up on the verge near the parking lot where the people in suits are working. The drivers were trying to avoid something, to get away from something. My suit radio crackles to life and I start and nearly drop my gun. A local broadcast from somewhere in town. All units east, report. So these are government troops. I'll be in trouble if they find me, but I won't be a prisoner. We're on the same side. I mute my microphone, hold my breath, and wait to see who responds. Unit 5, condition green, over. HQ to Unit 5, understood, over. Unit 3, condition green, over. HQ to Unit 3, understood, over. I risk a glance over the cars to the parking lot. The guard taps his wrist to activate his radio, and I hear his voice. Unit 2, condition amber, code 17 in location 128, proceeding as ordered, over. HQ to Unit 2, understood. Do you require backup? Over. HQ to Unit... Negative, HQ. This is routine. Object will be ready for pickup in 5 minutes. Over. HQ to Unit 2, acknowledged. Pickup authorised. Continue to your next retrieval location. HQ out. That means more soldiers heading this way. I need to disappear. 2 cars ahead of me on the road is an SUV with tall wheel arches and the ground clearance to match. If I can get under there, I'll be out of sight to anyone walking along the road. I swing my gun into its clips on my back and lie, face down in the road. I start to crawl, low against the pavement on my elbows and knees, past the car I've been sitting against, past the gap between the car opposite and the car in front. I'm being as quiet as I can, but it's hard to tell how much noise I'm making in this silence. The radio beeps in my ear and I lie still in the road. Unit 2 to HQ, we're done here. Heading out to location 129. Object is ready for retrieval at location 128. Over. HQ to Unit 2. Good work, ladies and gents. Keep it up. HQ out. The people in the parking lot are moving on. I need to be under that SUV. I start to crawl again, as fast as I dare. I'm getting closer to the parking lot. I catch sight of the object. A grey cylinder with red markings through the gap under the car next to me. The people in the suits are standing near it. I can see their boots and gloves as they collect up their equipment and pack it into black cases. Very slowly, I crawl along the road and silently thank my luck when I notice that the car next to me has run into the car in front, closing the gap and keeping me out of sight while I crawl to the SUV. I keep glancing at the object and the soldiers, glimpsing them through the gaps under the cars. I'm almost at the SUV, trying to avoid the broken glass and plastic in the road from the car crash next to me. I crawl past the rear wheel, just as the soldiers pick up their cases and start to walk towards the road. Towards me. I reach the SUV and start to roll underneath. My gun catches on the door and I'm stuck in the road. I can't see the boots, but I know they're getting closer. I roll back into the road, my heartbeat loud in my ears. I grab my gun, tear off my helmet, and roll under the vehicle. Freeze. I can hear footsteps loud on the pavement and the small sounds that armour makes when you walk. I hold my breath. I can hear muffled voices. They must be using their radios to talk to each other on a private channel. I hear laughter, and someone breaks stride, scuffing their feet on the ground. My lungs are burning. My limbs are aching. My hands are wrapped tightly around my helmet and gun. I will myself to stay still. And then the boots are there, in the road, next to me. 3 soldiers. They've seen me. They must have seen me. They stop. And someone spins on the spot. A dance move. Absurd in the silence. More laughter. And the boots move on, out of sight. It takes me a moment to believe that I am safe. To breathe again. To relax. My heart is still hammering and I'm shaking, but I'm still here. I lie still for a minute or two to give the soldiers time to move away. And then I realise what the object is. It should be impossible. It shouldn't be here, but the more I think about it, the more I'm sure it's a government weapon. I think about our weapons training video. Grey cylinder, red markings. It's a city killer. There will be many of them in a grid across the town. They will have been dropped by drone into accurate positions and activated remotely. Individually, they wouldn't do much damage, but together, in a network, they work together to trigger an electromagnetic pulse. That knocks out anything electrical. Cars, phones, radios, lights, anything that runs on electricity. Then they coordinate to produce a ground tremor. Faint at first, but escalating until buildings fall apart, trees shake themselves to pieces, and people fall. The drones fly back into range and watch the process. And when the destruction is sufficient, the drone operators shut off the devices. Job done. If you want to make sure there are no survivors, you add a chemical element. Gas canisters that open when the shaking stops. I look down at my contamination panel. The colour is getting darker. Nowhere near the danger point yet, but there are still residual chemicals in the air. I'm missing something. The terrorists don't have these weapons. They're far too advanced. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was mistaken about what I saw. I need to see the object up close. Bex doesn't know it yet, but this incident will change the course of her life and the lives of her friends. Don't forget, Battleground is free to download today. Follow the links on my Twitter feed, up and down, or in my profile up there to grab your copy. I'd love to take your questions. Add them to the video feed. That's easier to do in Periscope, but you can do it through your phone. And I'll try and keep track of them, and I'll try and answer them. While you're typing, let me tell you about my giveaway. I am offering a signed paperback copy of Battleground, along with a Battleground series tote bag featuring the covers of all the books. Worldwide postage is included. Giveaway ends tomorrow at 11 p.m. London time. I will draw a winner at random on Monday. To enter, simply sign up to my mailing list. Head to freebook.tallybooks.com. That's freebook.tallybooks.com. And I'll also send you a free novella when you sign up. Making Trouble is a spoiler-free prequel to the Battleground series and an introduction to an important character in the story. There's a direct link in my Twitter bio. Click on freebook.tallybooks.com, enter your email address, you're entered. It's that easy. The giveaway is run by me and by Taller Books and is not affiliated with Twitter, Periscope or Yelp in any way. I have to say that legally. So send me your questions. I've got some on the feed already. Let me just scroll back and find out. Who are my main author influences? Oh gosh, that is such a hard question. As you can see, I am sitting in my home library, which goes on in both directions. This is the sci-fi section that I'm sitting in front of here. There's a fantasy section over there. In front of me is the contemporary, and to the side is the overflow from science fiction. I have a master's degree in science fiction studies, so a lot of my influences are SF. I've read a lot of SF. I've read a lot of Golden Age SF. My favourites are probably more recent than that. Favourite author would have to be William Gibson, but I can only aspire to his prose. I think he's absolutely amazing. I would have to say a lot of the dystopian authors. So in terms of YA, obviously Suzanne Collins and Hunger Games. Obviously Divergent, there's the Australia trilogy. My mind is going blank, but lots and lots of those. I love anything that shows a dystopia but shows people surviving it and thriving and finding out who they are and finding out how to survive and make the world better, even if it feels as if it's falling apart, which I think is very relevant at the moment. And so that's the sort of thing that came out when I started to write a book. I honestly thought when I got round to writing the book that I'd been intending to write for years, that it would be SF. It would be, you know, spaceships and laser guns and planets and aliens. And that's not what happened. When I sat down to start, what I've read to you there was actually the first thing I wrote. It's not the first part of the book. It actually comes in about halfway through. But that's the story that my subconscious decided to tell. So I think actually the influences turn out to be the dystopian ones rather than the more sort of hard SF, which was interesting. Let me see what else I've got here. Am I a planner or a pantster? Kind of both. I thought I'd be a planner. I thought I would sit down and, you know, work out 40 chapters worth of story and write each chapter and it would all flow together and it would be great. But what I discovered, which is most authors will tell you, characters don't do what you tell them. Characters have their own ideas about what they're going to do, and Bex is one of those. She definitely took the story off in ways that I was not expecting. When I wrote that section, I actually had no idea who she was, what the story was, what the situation was, which is why I then went back and wrote the first half of the book in order to give it some context and for me to find out what was going on. What was going on was that's Leominster in Herefordshire, and those are city killers, and something very, very bad happened. I then had to figure out why. And put my characters into the middle of that story and that scenario, the post-Brexit dystopia, and find out what would happen next. And I had intended it to be a 2-book series. This was the setup, and then there was going to be book 2, which would also be narrated from Bex's point of view, and that would sum up what happened at the end. As I say, my characters had other ideas and my proofreaders had other ideas. And I had a comment from a proofreader asking to know more about the antagonist in the story, who is an instructor at the camp who makes Bex's life hell, and he wanted to know why. And the more I thought about it, the more I realised she needed to tell her story in her own voice. So she got book 2, which actually retreads the same ground but tells it from her point of view. And then I carried on writing and I ended up with 5 books. I thought it was going to be 3. I thought it was going to be 4. Ended up with 5. Book 5's quite long. I realised I needed to draw a line. So, I try to plan. And the plan probably happens kind of halfway through when I realise the shape of the story. Then I will actually make a plan and attempt to get the story to... not to get the story to fit it, to get the book to fit it, to get the structure to fit the sort of 39, 40 chapters that I generally aim for. I hope that answers the questions. I actually need to move on because the next author will be broadcasting at past. If you'd like to stay in touch with me, you can find me here on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, Goodreads and Wattpad. And you'll find more free short stories on Wattpad. Nothing to do with the Battleground series. I write YA reviews on my blog, which is at blog.tallarbooks.com. And all of those are cross-posted to Goodreads. So if you're looking for YA reviews, if you're looking for recommendations or otherwise, I also run a YA book club. So I get to read a lot of YA and talk with the target audience about what they think about it. So all of that goes onto the blog and onto Goodreads. You can find out more information on all the books in the Battleground series at tallarbooks.com. Link is in my Twitter bio up there. Along with a link to the entire series on Amazon, so you can see the rest of the books and the rest of the blurbs. Don't forget to enter my giveaway. Download your free copy of Making Trouble, the prequel novella, from freebook.tallarbooks.com. Follow the website link in my bio. The next author on today's virtual book fair is Abigail Terrell, and she'll be reading from her LGBTQ romance, Roots Before Branches. Find her broadcast on Twitter at AE Terrell Author, or click on the link that should be appearing on my Twitter feed anytime now. Or you can find the full schedule at yalk.tallarbooks.com. And you can click on the links and that will take you directly to her Twitter feed and then scroll down to find her video. I'm very excited to hear her reading, so I'm going to head over there now. Keep any questions coming. You can add them to my Twitter feed and I will answer any that I've missed. Thank you so much for joining me. Please check out the other authors in today's virtual book fair, and I will be back at 7:30 this evening, BST, with another reading from Battleground, a different section, and I hope you'll join me later. Have a fantastic day at Home Yark, wherever you go, whatever you do, whoever you listen to, and we'll see you later on.